a handful of internet creators who went viral during the COVID pandemic. Among them is a girl named Remi Bader. Remi is a plus-size model who gained a big following by doing realistic clothing hauls where she would purchase clothes from popular brands and show her audience how a lot of the clothes didn't fit a plus-sized woman like herself. Now, Remi is under fire for losing 140 pounds. Part of the backlash is how she lost the weight, but most of the criticism is how she seemingly lied about it for at least a year. Let's get into it. I'll admit, I liked Remi at first because while I thought her lifestyle choices were problematic, her content is funny. These are the kind of videos that propelled her to internet fame.
I got this epic winter velvety corset for the holidays. It doesn't necessarily fit me, so I just thought like take an iPhone cord, put it around my neck, and just like hang it on top. And I think it looks just as good.
It's self-deprecating humor, which attracts a lot of people, myself included. But very quickly, Remi took her comedic videos and turned them into a position of power and influence as a leading voice in the body positivity movement. She started working with huge fashion brands, including Victoria's Secret, Revolve, and even Walmart, on what she called the plus size or inclusive fashion trend. Basically, her job was getting companies to create clothes that fit a woman up to 6XL. So the key takeaway from Remi's rise to fame is that pretty much her entire brand was built off of being a plus-sized person and allegedly embracing that. In videos she'd posted to TikTok, she opened up about her struggle with binge eating and not loving how she looked. But then she started to give fans insight into her at the gym. And by early 2024, fans observed a noticeable change in Remi as she started to appear significantly thinner than ever before. Of course, the first accusation was that Remi was likely on Ozempic or Wegovy or one of those GLP-1 medications that traditionally result in rapid weight loss. However, this was quickly ruled out because Remi had gone on the podcast called Not Skinny But Not Fat, where she opened up about using Ozempic and said that the drug didn't work for her. She claimed that after using Ozempic, she gained double the weight back and it made her binge eating even worse. She began to gain even more weight and posted this video to her followers in mid-2023.
It's very, very hard. It's really hard to see this every single day. And like, it's really not fair to just see really mean things. Like, I'm taking care of myself the best I can. And I really am asking the people, even if you don't like me or follow me out of a hate follow, to just stop commenting on my body. You can comment about my character or whatever you think of me as a person, or I'm annoying or whatever it is. But please just stop commenting on my body, because I'm doing everything I can to make myself feel better.
But within 7 to 8 months of this public meltdown over her weight gain, Remi was starting to look slim. Some people speculated that she lost her weight through extreme dieting and exercise, especially since she was posting pictures from the gym. But the majority of people started suggesting that Remi had undergone some sort of weight loss surgery. And as that was suggested in Remi's comment section, people on TikTok took note that Remi was blocking followers and even longtime fans who questioned her weight loss method. After all, she became famous for her body and her weight, and now all of a sudden, that was gone. In March of 2025, Remi finally disclosed that she had undergone bariatric surgery in December of 2023, perfectly correlating with that massive weight loss. In a podcast interview, she admitted to having a surgery best known as Sadie, which is essentially cutting out about 80% of the stomach. I watched the full interview that Remi did on Khloe Kardashian's podcast, where she detailed how health concerns, including back pain, sleep apnea, infertility, and a fatty liver impacted her decision to undergo weight loss surgery. Watch this.
There became more serious things where it actually started like clicking a little for me. I was in pain, so that was one. But then like I had a constant period, and my doctor was telling me I was becoming infertile. And at 28, and
that's scary.
Yeah, I was always going to a doctor, so I was like tracking and seeing kind of how things were going downhill in terms of my heart, my cholesterol. I mean, they were telling me I was morbidly obese, and there was a number of things. I think the infertile thing definitely hit me.
Right.
And the literally the pain that I was in and like limping and like couldn't walk normally and things like that. And then I remember actually that day, again, I keep going back to that video that I posted that you reposted, but that day was when I made this decision.
A lot of people took issue with Remi making this announcement on a Kardashians platform of all people, especially given how that family allegedly caused body image issues among a younger generation by failing to disclose their surgeries and single-handedly keeping Facetune in business. Some people applauded Remi for prioritizing her health, but honestly, the majority of the online discourse was accusing her of being a downright hypocrite. Because let's be honest, she made her entire brand around body positivity advocacy and then quietly underwent surgery to deal with a problem that she allegedly doesn't believe is a problem. Now, I'll admit that this was never going to be an easy feat for Remi because the body positivity community was always going to feel betrayed by a larger person that got famous for their size slimming out. We saw this with Adele. We saw this with Rebel Wilson. These are women who were larger and still talented, but as soon as they had the opportunity to slim down, they took it. One thing I've noticed about the online discourse very quickly is that there is a little bit of self-awareness in that nearly everyone who's making a critical video of Remi will start off by saying she doesn't owe us an explanation. And while true, I don't feel like we need to make that kind of a caveat. Yes, Remi's a person who is owed her own privacy, but when you make your entire personality and brand around your weight, people will have questions when you change your entire personality, which was your weight. I became a content creator by talking about conservative news, politics, and culture. And if I started making videos about being a liberal without explaining how that shift happened, people would rightfully be confused. And that's exactly what happened with Remi. She thought her brand was Remi Bader, but it wasn't. Her brand was being body positive, and not realizing that was a failed analysis on her end. One TikToker named Coleman put it best when he said that Remi Bader failed to understand what it was that she was selling to her audience.
Remi Bader, though, is no longer just a person. Remi Bader is a business that built their following off of being plus size, that got brand deals, that got the followers off of being plus size. It's like a cookie company that sells cookies and only cookies. If they woke up one day and decided they were no longer going to sell cookies and they were only going to sell fruit, there would be an email in the inbox of every single investor from the CEO of the cookie company saying why they switched from cookies to fruit. Now, if the cookie company sold cookies as well as 100 other products, then they could get rid of the cookies and there wouldn't be much of an explanation to the investors, because the investors were not just investing in the cookies, they were investing in 100 other things. Remi Bader became the influencer she became because plus size content was being pushed. And then she decided she was no longer going to be plus size, which is fine. She can do that. But from a business decision, she went out of her way to block everybody and anybody that asked about it.
It might be mean, but it's true. Her whole brand was being big. There was never a world in which Remi Bader could get skinny and not receive backlash for it. And I like to consider myself a sympathetic person. And if she had come out and said something along the lines of like, being plus size is not healthy, I learned that the hard way, we really need to treat obesity as the crisis that it is, she would have earned my respect. I would be here going to bat for Remi Bader while the whole body positivity community canceled her. But she didn't do that. She actually doesn't believe that being overweight was a problem for her. She was so unhealthy, and those health issues that she addressed on the Kardashian podcast didn't just randomly happen to her. Almost all of those issues are intrinsically tied to obesity. And where she lost the plot for me was when she said on that Kardashian podcast that she thinks body positivity is still a great thing. Girl, body positivity for people who are like a size 8 to 12, fine, we can debate that. Body positivity for people who are XXL is the outward promotion of a lifestyle that completely failed Remi Bader. That's where she looks like a total hypocrite. She's still pushing this body positivity narrative while not engaging in it at all, because it's a big fat lie she's been pushing. It almost reminds me of when Call Her Daddy's Alex Cooper made all of her living and all of her notoriety off of being a hoe, and then went on to live one of the most traditional lifestyles and get married to her husband. Creators who live their life differently than the life that they preach on the internet are always going to get in shit for what they say. I think Remi Bader would have done much better for her audience if she simply admitted that being big was always a bad idea. But that would mean it was about being truthful and honest to the internet instead of making a quick buck. Anyway, if you made it to the end of this bonus show, will you drop the salad emoji? I don't think that needs any explanation. And as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks, friends. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked what you heard, please be sure to subscribe and leave a comment about how beautiful, intelligent, and funny I am. And if you want more content, click right over here for more videos and clips of my show. I'll see you back here next time. Bye!